Rebecca isn't here today, and I'll be talking about Airman by Owen Colfer, who also wrote the Artemis Fowl series. And this book is set in late 1800s. It's before there were planes and computers and stuff, way before computers and stuff like that. And the main character is Connor Brocart, who's the son of a sharpshooter. So he lives on the Salty Kingdom, spelled Saltee, which is 2 islands. And it used to be part of England, but then it became its own kingdom. And then so his father is a sharpshooter who guards the kingdom and shoots enemies. And the sharpshooters of Salty are all famed for their extreme accuracy. So his father is really accurate when shooting. And so Connor himself grew up since his father was the main sharpshooter, he grew up with Isabel, who was the king's daughter. And his father was one of the greatest friends of the king. Also, a little bit about the geography. There's Great Salty and Little Salty. There's one main city on Great Salty, which is where everyone lives, and it's the whole kingdom. It's a really small kingdom. And then Little Salty is where the prisoners live, and that's where they go mining. And so this most recent king is really nice, and he's made a bunch of new rules, and he obliterated taxes, and he made it so only he made the prison actually separate from the mine. So the prisoners didn't have to work in the mine. People who they hired worked in the mine. And everyone was really happy with this king. And yeah. So he's a very nice king. I forgot to mention, Connor was born on a very special occasion. When his father was off in France looking at hot air balloons to see if there are potential candidates for aerial defense or attacks to add to their military, Connor's mom actually birthed him on a hot air balloon as they were observing. And someone tried to assassinate them and shoot down their hot air balloon. But luckily they survived. And the second very important thing about Connor's life is that, well, first, he's really interested in flying after that. And he really likes reading about flying, and he thinks flying is really cool, and he wants to fly one day. And one day, when he's playing with Isabel, the king's daughter, he goes to they're playing in the castle, and then Isabel accidentally messes with her father's chemicals and ends up causing a big fire. And they get stuck on the top of the roof. So Connor has to grab a flagpole, turn it into a glider, and glide off the top of the roof. And he saves Isabel. And so he gets knighted. Connor eventually gets taught with Victor, who's another one of the king's best friends. And he learned how to fly and stuff. And when he grows up, he doesn't learn how to fly, but he learns how some bases of flying machines. And because Victor's also really interested in flying. And he also learns fencing and stuff like that. And then one day, and then in one chapter, it kind of skips a bunch of years, and he's a teenager. And at that point, he likes Isabel. He's in love with Isabel. Isabel likes him back. And everything for him seems pretty good. Until one day, he was walking in the castle, and he hears Victor. He sees a certain person. I can't remember his name, but he's walking around and acting really suspicious. So Connor decides to follow him and realizes that he's trying to eavesdrop on a conversation between the king and Victor, his teacher, and also one of the king's best friends. And then what happened is that the guy went into the room and shot the king with one of Victor's guns that he stole. And Victor was like, "Oh no," and he tried to defend the king, but he knocked out Victor. Connor went in and tried to save him, but then knocked him out. And then he called the guards. He said that Connor helped Victor kill the king, and Victor was actually a spy and had been helping friends all along to kill the king. And then there was a very dramatic, very emotional scene where Connor's father doesn't even recognize him. But Connor doesn't know that. He thinks his father thinks that he killed the king. But Connor's father thinks that the unrecognizable Connor, because he has a swollen face, because he got knocked out, killed the actual Connor. So that's some confusion there. And Connor is put in jail, and he has to live a really tough life there. And while his enemy is making the kingdom bad again and is hurting his family. So eventually he goes back, he escapes from prison and saves his parents and other people, but the way he does it is actually very creative and it's very interesting. And I recommend this book for 4th graders and up, maybe 5th graders and up, because it's like kind of historic. It's kind of, I think 5th graders and up would enjoy it more. So happy reading, bye!